The winter wind moved across the high plains like a living thing, hissing between the dead grass and rattling the bones of the land. And Jacob Hawley, a quiet rancher known for his calm eyes and strong silence, was hauling water from the frozen creek when he first saw her, an Apache woman walking slowly over the ridge, her steps heavy, her dress torn at the edges, and her face carrying the unmistakable exhaustion of someone who had traveled farther than her strength allowed. She stopped a few paces from him, clutching a bundle of nearly frozen clothes in her hands, lowering her gaze not out of weakness but out of dignity, and in a voice roughened by wind and hunger, she said, "If you offer shelter, I will wash your clothes, clean your cabin, anything. I only need a warm place for the night." Jacob straightened, studying her, understanding immediately that this was no beggar. This was a woman who had done everything to survive and had run out of choices yet refused to ask for pity. Her name, she later told him, was Naya, and she had been separated from her people after a trading group scattered during a sudden blizzard 2 nights earlier. Jacob looked at her trembling fingers, the way she hid her shifting stance to avoid showing weakness, and he realized she was close to collapsing. Without saying a word, he walked past her, opened the cabin door, and returned not with dirty clothes for her to scrub, but with a thick, heavy wool blanket that smelled faintly of cedar smoke. He placed it around her shoulders, and as her eyes widened at the unexpected kindness, he said quietly, "You don't need to wash anything. You just need to survive." That one sentence broke something inside her, not pride, but the weight she had been carrying alone, and for the first time since the storm, she breathed without fear. Inside the cabin, Jacob lit the stove, gave her warm broth, and let her rest while he repaired her moccasins with the steady hands of a man who knew loneliness as well as she did. As the fire glowed, she finally spoke of her journey, of the cold that had nearly taken her, of her determination to reunite with her people. Jacob listened, not interrupting, not judging, because in the vastness of the frontier, every story was a reminder of how thin the line between life and death truly was. By midnight, strength had returned to her voice, and gratitude softened her gaze. She stared at him and said, "Most men take something in return for kindness. Why didn't you?" Jacob shrugged slightly, as if the answer were simple. "Because someone once saved me when they didn't have to. Now it's my turn." The storm grew harsher outside, but in the cabin, the warmth between them grew quietly, like fire catching on dry wood. Over the following days, Naya helped tend the horses, fixed the sagging roof edge, and cooked meals with a careful respect for his space. Yet Jacob noticed she carried guilt, as if shelter alone was a debt too large to repay. One evening, as she folded the blanket he'd given her, she whispered, "I will leave at dawn. I cannot keep taking from you." Jacob looked up from the firewood he was splitting, shook his head, walked toward her, and said, "You're not taking anything. You're healing. That's different." She held his gaze for a long time, searching for any sign of deception, and found none. Days passed, and their quiet companionship began to feel less like coincidence and more like fate, 2 lonely souls finding warmth where neither had expected it. When the Apache search party finally arrived, 3 riders cresting the horizon, calling Naya's name, she should have run to them immediately, but her steps halted halfway as she turned back toward Jacob, the man who had given her safety without price. In that long, heavy silence, she said, "If I ever return, will there still be a place for me by your fire?" Jacob met her eyes and answered with the same steady honesty he carried in everything he did. "You already have a place here, Naya. The blanket stays, waiting for you." She smiled, a rare, soft smile that carried months of gratitude, and then rode off with her people, glancing back until she disappeared into the horizon. Jacob stood at the doorway long after she was gone, the blanket folded neatly on the chair, waiting for the day her footsteps might return. And somewhere in the rolling plains, Naya looked toward the distant ranch and whispered a promise to the wind, "I will come back." And dear viewers, if you want more stories like this, raw, emotional, powerful tales from the untamed frontier, make sure you subscribe to Wild West Diaries, hit the like button, and turn on the bell icon, because more gripping Wild West legends are on the way, and you don't want to miss a single one.